Does any candidate have a kind of a plan? I mean, I know that Donald Trump created Space Force, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if a lot of people understand what that. But has any candidate ever like been or Republican or Democrat been a better proponent of space and opening up that market?
Yeah, so I can't help, but I'm going to piss people off. But what I'm saying is the truth, right? The Trump administration, whether you like them or not, was the most impactful administration for the space industry in 50 years. And you can't dispute that. I think in most elections, space, people in the industry get excited if the word space shows up in a presidential speech, in a candidate speech, and that's about all you'll get
Yeah,
is maybe a mention.
yeah.
But for most, it is pretty much an afterthought, and it doesn't drive a ton of votes, right? So, understandably, for reasons I cannot explain to this day, other than perhaps the role of Mike Pence, who was a known space geek, like a guy who was really into space. The Trump administration, they created the Space Force, right, out of whole cloth. I mean, that concept really wasn't even being pushed tremendously by the industry. You have the reestablishment of the National Space Council, the Artemis program, funding went up. And so there was a tremendous amount of activity. And of course, Trump, during his first administration, set the goal of returning, an American to the moon by the end of his second administration. So he had a 4-year gap, but there's
But
a
maybe may hit
possibility,
it. Maybe
he
I
may
don't.
reestablish that goal, which,
That's
NASA with
it's
the Artemis
interesting.
program does have a fairly stretched out goal of getting there.